Hey, friends. Welcome to The Hardest Job Ever, the podcast where we talk about being a new mom, unfiltered.
Unfiltered. Hell yeah. I'm Purvi,
And I'm
and
Karen.
today we're going to be talking about the first 8 weeks of postpartum, the glorious first 8 weeks. They were so glorious, weren't they?
Pure mayhem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that this part is probably the juiciest part that we're going to go into. Like, I feel like that's where most of the drama happened for me.
It's not
Yeah.
just all baby cuddles and
Yeah.
swaddling. I mean, those were wonderful moments.
Yes.
But there are a lot of big hurdles to overcome.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do for this episode is go through a few things. First, just what did it look like for us, right? And then how did we feel emotionally, mentally, physically? And then what did we do to, get ourselves out of the funk? Because those 2 months right after baby, you don't feel like yourself.
No. Absolutely.
Like you look in the mirror and you're like, who is this person?
Yeah, you look in the mirror physically, you don't feel like yourself, obviously, as everyone knows, but also in your mind, you are in a crazy ass place in your mind.
Yeah.
And nobody realizes that.
Yeah.
Even your husbands don't realize how much of like in crazy town you are.
Especially your husband. Also, let's time out for a moment. We did not address the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Is we are together.
Yeah.
Purvi is here in Seattle visiting, which is so wonderful.
We flew in a couple days ago, and we decided to do some recording in person, and we're so excited because it's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, this is gonna be so fun. But now, let's take a moment to actually jump into things.
Yeah.
Sorry, we had to address that.
All right. Do you want to go through your like typical day?
Yeah, I'm
first?
happy to do that.
Okay.
I think so. Like, what I want to do is take us back to our births, right? Both of us had C-sections, but they were different, right? I went through 19 hours of laboring and pushing and then had an emergency C-section, whereas Purvi had her planned C-section with twins. So it was a little different. I think for me, I'd love to just take a moment and like think about when we left the hospital and just coming home. No one talks about the first car ride home with the babies or babies.
That is scary.
I remember being like, should I be allowed to leave this hospital with a child, a human life? Like, what in the world?
Right.
And then my husband was in the front, and I was like, obviously, I'm going to sit in the back. With
Obviously,
Layla.
right.
And I'm like terrified of the car seat because she has no neck control, and I'm like, oh my god. And then the whole time, because I was so scared, I just put my arm right in front of her neck because I, for some reason, kept thinking she was
gonna like
suffocate and die
Exactly.
on the car ride home before we even made it home. Right?
Yeah.
Crazy intrusive thoughts. That's where my PPA started, honestly.
Right,
which
right.
we can talk about later. I definitely had PPA. Maybe I still do. But like I was mortified, and so just that car ride home was crazy. I'd be curious how it felt with
Was it
two boys.
painful for you though, like physically going through bumps and stuff like that with your C-section scar?
I was definitely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I was so scared for her.
That you were just like
So distracted.
you were not even paying attention.
I mean, I had to be wheelchaired to the car, and so I'm sure you had to be too. I can't imagine with 2 babies though. Could you sit in the back seat?
No. So remember, Avi was the one that came back with us first, and we left Gian in the NICU for one extra night. So honestly, I would recommend that because first night with baby is really scary. So it was good that we were able to leave one baby at home because we did the first night with just one baby.
Yeah.
So it was much more manageable.
I will never forget though,
Yeah.
because when we were on the highway, I was like making Akash slow down. I kept being like, slow down, you're going too fast.
Yeah.
And he's going the actual speed limit. I don't know, the paranoia
I know.
was insane.
I know. So when we left the hospital, my husband and my in-laws were with us to help us
that's nice.
get out. Or actually, no, just my father-in-law came. And same thing. I was sitting in the back and my father-in-law was driving. And if you're listening to this, I have not told you this, but I was literally hovering over his shoulder, watching him make sure he's hitting the speed limits because I was like, I don't trust you, man, right now. I literally don't.
It's really scary, right?
Yeah.
The first time you were with your baby, and they're so helpless in the beginning. But okay, we could talk about that car ride forever.
Yeah.
We get home and then we walk into the house, and the difference between Borvy's situation and mine was me and my husband were completely alone. We had no parents, no family, nothing. So we get home. The first thing that came to mind for me was, okay, our dog's still in boarding and my husband needs to go get him, and I'm really scared for them to meet. But in the meantime, I somehow have to make it up the stairs to the area where I'll be pretty much just living until I could properly walk.
Yeah.
And so it was like nerve-wracking because I had Akash hold Layla in one arm with the car seat and then help me up the stairs. And for me, I'm curious how you felt. Well, going downstairs was a lot harder than for me.
Going downstairs is harder.
Up was okay, but I was so scared.
Yeah.
But we got there, and then you know, I was very scared to shower, so admittedly I didn't shower.
Yeah, I didn't shower either. I didn't shower for days. I honestly can't remember how many days I went without showering.
At least a week.
Because I was so scared to get anything around the C-section scar.
Until my family, they're doctors. My parents are retired doctors. My brother's a doctor. Until they were like, hey, just a heads up, you're showering, right? Because
infection.
Get an infection. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I was like, well, I'm really scared. What about soap? And they're like, don't use soap. Just like get yourself in the water and then come out. So hot tip, make sure you do shower, but soap is optional.
Yeah.
Actually, don't use soap, they say. Just make sure you're like staying clean.
Right.
So that was, anyways, like, oh my God.
Showering was really scary. I did not enjoy that. Everyone says like the first shower after birth is really nice. I don't agree with that. It was very anxiety provoking for me.
And then, you know, looking at my notes here to remember all the things that happened. The big thing that I was scared about for showering was, you didn't have this, but I had massive swelling. So, I
didn't know that this was a thing.
Oh my God.
I did not have that.
So like, okay, I guess most births, after you have your baby, and if you're standing up or if you're like trying to walk, which I was really adamant about, like walking and getting rid of my catheter, because you can't leave the hospital until your catheter is out of you. And so I was trying to walk, get the catheter out. And so you have to like prove it to the people at the hospital. But because I was like trying to do laps with my nurses, I think my legs got really, really swollen, because essentially gravity pulls that water retention or whatever retention of fluids from birth down to your legs. And so I like had 2 tree stump legs, and that's why I physically could barely walk. And
was it painful?
It was so uncomfortable. It just felt like, you know, those ankle weights, but usually I do like 5 pounds. This was like 15 or 20 or something. You know, like I felt like I was slamming myself, and every time I slammed, I was afraid of the pain that went in my belly, because I couldn't control like my steps.
How long did it last?
2 weeks, probably.
It's long ass time.
Yeah, it was really long. And so
that is not
my first shower, which was a week later. Yeah, I thought I was gonna fall.
Yeah.
So I had Akash literally walk me to the shower.
Yeah.
And then I made him wait for me while I showered. Like literally, like he like made sure I was okay.
Yeah.
And then I asked him, don't leave.
Yeah.
Because I'm scared. But so then he's like holding Layla there while I'm showering.
Right.
And then I needed him to help me get out because I was scared to lift my leg and I thought I was going to fall.
Oh my God.
So it was a whole thing. Yeah. So showering, I was terrified. And then after that, I waited another like week for my second shower.
You were like, I can't go through this trauma again.
I can't.
Literally not worth it.
When you got home, so you didn't have any swelling?
No swelling at all. That was completely fine. That was not one of my problems. One of my 1,000 problems I had.
You didn't look like the Michelin Man like me.
No,
I was
no. You were Michelin Man galore. We love that.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me. So your father-in-law drove you and baby.
So us getting.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, and then like I need to know. So you got home, like you had family around you, like I did not. So my major thing for me, and I'll tell everyone out there, because I had no family around and no one with me, I meal prepped everything during my nesting period when I was off of work. So here in the state of Washington, we get 2 weeks of nesting. And so I did that, I was so lucky because I basically meal prepped all my breakfasts for a month and a bunch of lunch. And then we decided
That's awesome.
freeze a bunch of veggies, and we would order like 2 or 3 times a week out. But I think in that point I needed anyways. Right. And so I had my whole freezer was packed with meals labeled like like
I did not know you did this.
lunch, dinner, and then I like made myself lactation cookies. So I prepared.
You did so much preparation. I am like so proud of you because I did none of this because I just relied. I was like, I'm not doing any of this. It was nice,
so
but
that's great. Like you had
wow, that is really cool.
Everything, had my lactation cookies all set up, everything in like little like cookie dough balls. And so basically we came home and we, for 2.5 weeks, had no one with us. And so, because like I couldn't walk up and down the stairs, my husband, Akash, would bring everything upstairs for me, but everything was already ready. So he just warmed it up. He put lactation cookies in the oven. Hot tip, if you don't know what lactation cookies are, look it up. There's millions of recipes. The key ingredient is brewer's yeast. And you want to do like your flax seeds, chia seeds, etc., all that. But it's supposed to increase lactation supply. And I ate that all the time. Yeah, they're delicious.
They're good.
Throw some peanut butter, whatever you want. But I just survived off that. And that was kind of our first 2 weeks from a meal standpoint.
Wow.
And like I could not go downstairs. I was scared for my life. So I just lived upstairs in my bedroom and her nursery, kind of back and forth. And bless my doula, who came and did nights 3 times a week for us. But I like was relegated there. So that's what my first 2 weeks looked like. Just stuck there, scared of showering, swollen legs. And then I called you crying because I couldn't get out of bed.
Because you were in so much pain trying to get out of a bed. And that is something that they don't tell you after a C-section is it is very, very painful to do any sort of transitional movements. So stairs, painful. In and out of bed, painful. Like to stand is often painful too.
Borvi is talking with some confidence because she has not really revealed this, but she's a physical therapist by trade and education. And so not when I was like crying because I was in pain, I couldn't sit, I couldn't move laterally, I couldn't go downstairs. I never wanted to leave the bed because I was like, I would cry. I would have Akash pick me up. So essentially I called her crying and I was like, I don't know how you did this. Like, walk me through everything.
Right. So I literally created a video for her of me log rolling. For those of you who have gotten any sort of abdominal surgery, you know what this is. But it's you literally roll over to your side first before you sit up, right? And what Karen was trying to do was she was trying to sit up from just flat on her back, straight up. That causes so much more pain. So the log roll takes a little bit of time, but it's great because it's slow, it minimizes pain, and it causes less stress to your abdomen.
Bless Borvi, because she got me through my first month pretty much of pure
That is
pain.
key. That is key.
Pure pain.
For sure.
Okay. So now you get home.
So we get home. So we had a lot of people in the house. We live with my in-laws, as you guys know. So my mother-in-law, father-in-law were there. And then my mom came 2 days later to also stay with us.
Oh, yeah. That's
maybe
nice.
a day later, something like that. But she came pretty much immediately after we got home to help out with the babies because it was all hands on deck. And then at nighttime 3 times a week we had our doula. Oh my gosh, God bless
doulas.
her.
There's
no way I could have gotten through the first 3 months.
How long did you have your doula
3
for?
months.
Me too.
3 months.
We had her for 3 months.
Yeah.
And let me just say one thing though, doulas are really meant for the husband. It's some BS because like we still pump and breastfeed throughout the night, all night, right?
Yes.
Like every 2 hours. But then our husband, like
they get a full night of sleep when the doula is around.
Yeah. I mean, I would kick Akash to our guest room and he would get a full night of sleep. But then the best is though, they're so well rested that in the morning, like they can manage everything.
They can manage a little bit more and they're more with it, which is good.
Yeah, because we're not.
No. So that was our setup. And the first 2 weeks, actually, this is for the first, honestly, 8 weeks. I'll talk you through our little sketchy that we had here. It was a little crazy. I get this question all the time with twins.
Yeah.
How did we manage them? So what we did is we kept them on separate schedules. So one person would be able to manage them at once. I'll start at nighttime, right? So I go to sleep from midnight to 2 a.m., wake up at 2. I hand off with Dhruv. So Dhruv's doing a night shift with the babies in the other room. So I start my shift. I pick up baby A, feed, change, burp, whatever, put them back to sleep. I get maybe 5 minutes if I'm lucky to do like a bottle or two. And then baby B wakes up. Same thing. You feed, change, burp, do all the nonsense. And then again, maybe I'll like try to pump in the middle, like try to get them to sleep maybe another few minutes longer. If not, then I'm pumping while I'm trying to manage them. And I had to pump and I couldn't breastfeed because at that time they were so preemie, they were not latching the first few weeks. That was our standard schedule. And this would run up until I would be doing this solo until 5, 6 a.m. So that's when my mom would wake up. My mom would come in. I would tag team with her. We wouldn't really leave the moms alone because that's a lot for them to manage. So my mom would help me until like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And then Dhruv's mom would come. And then that's when I would be off my duties. I would go to sleep for a few hours. And then the 2 moms would manage. And Dhruv would like be there managing as well. And then again, it starts over and over and over again.
And it's Groundhog's Day for months.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like sweating right now.
That's so interesting.
Oh my gosh. My sweats are back, guys.
We'll talk about that in a second too. I think what's interesting, so that's a little different than what I had to go through. And we'll talk more about like lactation and whatnot, but I was triple feeding for three-ish months.
Yes.
It was awful.
It was awful.
But I think when the nights when the doula came, that's when we had a respite in the sense that my husband would basically, Akash was like basically alternating days when he was on shifts. Like when the doula was not here, he was on point, essentially.
Right.
And so he would wake up, grab her, change diaper, like I would feed, and then he would put her down. I was in charge of feeding, and he would manage diaper.
And then he would do everything else. Yeah.
And then doula.
So different.
Yeah. And then doula, like, would basically be Akash. Akash and doula were just interchangeable.
Okay.
Every night.
Got it.
We had no, like, people helping us. That's how it was. And, like I look back at it, she would wake up pretty frequently though in the first few weeks, which is normal.
Yeah.
So we initially, I remember, had 3 to 4 night wake ups, and over time it just slowly dropped. But I think the beginning was particularly hard because I was still recovering, and I'm sure you recall too.
It was so hard, and you're just moving so much slower. So when you're solo managing the baby like that, and especially in my case, when you're solo managing two babies at once at night, in the middle of the night, when you're like freaking exhausted, it is, you really just get in your head, and and then you're just doom scrolling. I'm literally there feeding a baby and just scrolling on Instagram. And that's where shit gets bad.
It does.
Nothing good happens after. What's that saying? Nothing good happens after midnight or whatever. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about emotionally how we all were feeling, right? Because like this is a lot about physical, and like schedules and logistic. Like emotionally, how were you feeling? Like through the first 8 weeks,
the anxiety was really, really bad. I fortunately did not go through postpartum depression, so I didn't experience that. But the intrusive thoughts.
Oh my God.
People don't tell you about the intrusive thoughts.
I thought it was crazy.
Yeah. I'm literally just sitting on the couch with the baby, and I have these thoughts running through my head like, I'm going to drop the baby right now. It's going to fall out of my hands.
Yeah.
It's just crazy things.
You guys know the movie Final Destination? That's how I felt like I was in every single day for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
But the first 3 months were the absolute worst. I didn't even leave my house until week 6 or week 8.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't walking properly. Like from as far as I could walk was my driveway and like end of my driveway.
Yeah.
And that's what my goal was. And then after week 8, I like started doing more out of my neighborhood. But like the idea of leaving my neighborhood freaked me out. And I remember crossing the street with the stroller. All I could envision in my head was a car hitting the stroller. So I actually could not cross the street with my stroller. And I think I told you this, but eventually I was like, all right, forget it. I'm not using the stroller anymore. I'm only using a carrier. And for 5 months, my daughter only knew the carrier. Only more recently in the last 2-3 months,
the stroller's
using a stroller. And I think that's why she likes a stroller, because it's new. Yeah. But like she lived in the carrier, because I literally thought if anything were to happen, I would also die. We would just be in it together. Like I would never allow for anything to happen, because it's like my life and hers are together. She's strapped on me. So I remember Akash thought I was like crazy, and then he suggested we bring this up in couples therapy, and over time I realized I had postpartum anxiety. Yeah. And I had to go through like a whole program for it. But like literally Final Destination became a reality. It's because of being a new mom.
Scary.
It's so nuts.
It's so nuts. All right. So I need to know a little bit more about how you felt emotionally throughout this whole postpartum 8-week deal.
Well, so I mentioned the PPA, which we'll talk more about that in the next episode because we both really want to raise awareness of that. But I think for me, no one warned me that the hormones were going to hit in a crazy way. Like I felt so much love for my daughter, but I also felt grief and confusion, and it was all at once. And I would look at my daughter and be like, "Oh my God, you're perfect. I love you so much." But then I would be like crying because my body felt broken. I couldn't recognize myself. And there's not enough time to process because you're just trying to survive.
There isn't. I truly felt like just a robot. I never cried. The whole time.
You don't really cry much.
Yeah, I'm not a crier.
I'm a crier.
Yeah, you are. I didn't cry the whole time. It just felt like I was just so robotic and I was just so sleep deprived and I was just trying to get through the next item with the baby.
I think another thing though for me though emotionally, and I know you felt this, was like it took me a really long time to get over my birth. Because I really was obsessed, a reminder from the last episode, birth plan. I was so obsessed to have a vaginal birth. When I had a C-section, I was like, what the F just happened to me?
Yeah.
And so I think I felt a lot of like disappointment and guilt that my birth didn't go as planned. And it took me, probably the full 8 weeks just to finally accept that. And you and I to this day, like we always are like redemption
pregnancy.
But like, no, I can't. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. No, we're just going to stick with what the doctors recommend for me at least. Maybe if you want.
No. There will be no, I will do my redemption pregnancy through Karen. I'll watch her do it.
But it was just, it was a lot, right? And I think there's not enough time and conversation around processing the hormones, the wild emotions, the birth story in itself. I feel like the moment you get home to your house with your baby, it's just like go time and it's Groundhog's Day over and over again. And you're like, when will you get out of this?
Yes.
Right? But eventually when you don't have to change their diaper every hour and you don't have to feed every 2 hours. So
and you're sleeping longer than like an hour, maybe.
Yeah. Well, you an hour. Oh my God. I don't know how you did it. I would at least sleep 2 to 3 hours. Oh my God. I think after those 8 weeks, you eventually start becoming a person again. But those first 8 weeks, I mean, you're isolated, you're emotional, you feel alone from the world. You want to see people you love, like your friends and family, but it's like you can only let certain people in because of germs and worries and this constant final destination brain. So the first 8 weeks are definitely the hardest, but what I can tell you for sure, it is up from here.
It definitely gets better. And people used to tell me that all the time. They're like, yes, the first few weeks are definitely rough, but like when you're in it, we hear you. It sucks and it feels like you're going to be stuck in it for freaking ever. Yeah. And I also, which it was so crazy to me, I thought for me it was going to be a little bit easier because I had so much support. Like I literally listed out so many people that were there 24/7 for me, and I still struggled. So no one's safe from it.
Let's like make sure we wrap up and focus on a few things. I would like to spend this time now to actually talk about like what did we actually use or what did we do to help us through the recovery. A few things that are top of mind to me are I use the Freedom Mom belly band. Basically, after a C-section, you did like have compression around your belly. It helps with recovery. It also helps maintain your pain because it essentially sucks everything in.
It's like it gives you compression, so it gives you a little bit of relief, and it gives you some stability when you're like sitting and when you're walking.
Okay.
It helps quite a bit. I just used the abdominal binder that the hospital gave. I wore that for an obnoxiously long time. I think I wore it for like a month or two.
Okay, so I hated that thing.
Really?
It was so uncomfortable.
I love me a good abdominal binder.
Told me that I had to wear it every day, and then by week 3, I was like, this thing is so uncomfortable, and so that's why I got the
Freedom Mom one.
Belly band. It was much more comfortable.
Really?
I mean, if you have the tolerance that Borby has, and good for you.
I loved it. I think I still have it, and it's like nasty. It's probably like brown.
Ew.
It was white before.
Gross. But like it just felt, it wasn't for me. And so I got the Frida Mom belly band, and I must do a huge shout out because this was a game changer for me. The Belly Bandit biker shorts, essentially they're high-waisted biker shorts, and it compresses the entire belly region, and it was so helpful. Like, because I could look cute, not worry about the stupid adjusting of the band constantly. Because like I actually use that after week 8. So when I was going out about in the world for another month or two, I would just wear that all the time just to make sure everything was healing properly
Yeah.
because I didn't want to go out of the house wearing my band all the time.
Right.
And
For
so
sure.
that was
Because
clutch.
that thing is so clunky.
Like you visited me and I was wearing that. It was great.
And I was like, dang, you look good. And you just had Layla.
That was like week 10, right? But I was wearing the belly band.
Yeah,
biker
exactly.
shorts. So Belly Bandit, shout out, awesome brand. Love their biker shorts. I never got the leggings because I had my baby in the summer, but I hear they're amazing. So for any of the other babies in the fall and winter, highly recommend. Any things that you felt helpful? I mean, you taught me about granny panties.
Yes, the granny panties, the chaddis, as that's in Gujarati, that's underwear. I highly recommend after if you are having a C-section, getting a super high waisted, just a standard Amazon pack of like cotton underwear that you can just get gross and throw away after. We have not thrown ours away. We were just talking about this. We still wear them to this day because they're so comfortable. I honestly like them better than my Lululemon underwear.
Yeah,
so.
same. And I think it's because the C-section area is still
It's still tendy.
It's not tendy for me because you had burning.
Yeah. Yes, we didn't even talk about that. The burning along the C-section
I didn't
scar.
have itchiness.
I have itchiness now. I had burning for like the first year and it was like on fire. And it's the burning is just because it's nerve pain. The nerves are growing back.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, interesting because I don't have any sensation there. Interesting. Like, my entire belly is numb.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Yeah, like I will like put my hand here or my dog will jump on me and I'm like, well, can't feel
what's
feel
going
any.
on?
So, but anyways, the granny panties were wonderful because it's high waisted.
So good.
Pressure on the incision, and I think most undies where the incision lies, it does, and so it was really helpful that way.
Yes. I will say one other thing on the lactation cookies piece is my mom would make me these like laddus. So laddus are just basically an Indian version of like little balls, little like power balls. Yeah, they're
So
sweet.
good. They're not power balls. There's no protein in that.
There is literally
sugar.
She literally put so much shit in there. Did you know watermelon seeds were a thing? She put watermelon seeds in there. That was one of the ingredients. There was like 50 things in there. Yeah. They were so good. And that's pretty much all I would eat. I think they were just like high in calories, and that's what you need when you're breastfeeding. And
my sister-in-law sent me this.
Yeah.
But like I forget the Gujarati name for it, but they're like little diamonds.
Oh.
And it had so many things in there. It tastes like straight up ghee, but
Yeah. There's a lot of ghee. It was like the base was ghee and gourd or jaggery. That kept me alive. And my mill would make me this like trail mix that I would just keep on my nightstand with like almonds, coconuts. What are those makana called? Like little lotus things.
I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, so good. It's basically just like an Indian snack with like a bunch of nuts and all of that.
I call it like voodoo concoctions. And,
Yeah.
you know, like all herbal stuff.
All
Everyone has their
herbal.
own POV on
Yes.
this, and you know, you just lean in because why not?
You lean in because just surrounded by the moms.
Other quick call outs. Button down pajamas are really great.
That's all I wore.
I think I had planned to wear gowns, but I thought that was so uncomfortable.
That's stupid.
So just elastic pants, whether you had C-section or vaginal, is like super comfortable because you need space and you're wearing a diaper. And we didn't even talk about that, but like you're still wearing a diaper even if you have a C-section.
Yeah, you still wear. Yeah, nobody talks about that you still wear a diaper.
Yeah, because you think you don't need to, but you still are bleeding.
Yeah.
So you need the space there. You wear your diapers. The button down on the top is great for breastfeeding. So highly recommend that. And the most important thing, stool softeners.
Oh, the stool softeners are key. So after a major surgery like a C-section, you need to be able to poop. And often a high risk is constipation after a surgery.
Major surgery, 7 layers.
You gonna get constipated AF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your body needs to learn how to poop again.
So you need that stool softener. Take it. Don't
especially take it if you had really bad blood loss because they'll tell you to take iron, which I was on iron. Like I was on prescription strength iron, and that increases constipation.
Yes, it does. Just you gotta poop, man. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Question. How was your first poop?
It was totally fine. I was so scared.
I was so scared
it was
for it to
fine.
come out.
I was so scared, but it was totally fine.
It was like, honestly, I must say, I have to brag about this. My first poop after the C-section was like the perfect poop.
Mine was just normal, but I think for me, I had all my vaginal birth friends who scared me about the first poop. And so I was like shaking.
You were just super anxious about it.
But I actually realized like it was totally fine, you know, because I did do pushing.
Yeah, you did.
And I had the C-section.
Yeah.
So I was still raw down there. It's just that I think it was just fine.
It was great. Just take the stool softener.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the main takeaway. All right, everyone. So I think we should wrap up here. I think to those of you who are in your first 8 weeks, or if you're pregnant and expecting very soon, just know the 8 weeks are the hardest, and that's normal and that's okay. And you will get through it. It will be tough, but just remember.
But you're tougher. You're a badass.
And you're going to be joining this village of like women and moms who did this, and they've, you know, we've gone through it for generations now, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Oh my God. And so hang in there. I think any parting thoughts from your end?
No, just know that you're a badass. You got this. The first 8 weeks, they got nothing on you. And then the funny thing, the best part is you're not even going to remember any of it. Yeah.
We really had to brainstorm, remember?
There was a lot of brainstorming before this one. All right, it's time for permission to glow.
I almost forgot. Oh my God.
You always freaking forget. Okay, I can go? Or
whatever. You go.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. So obviously this is our first episode in Seattle, so I have to talk about our Seattle flight. And it actually is my permission to glow because holy shit, we crushed it. Aww. Yeah, we did so well on the flight. I was so irritated about coming to Seattle because in January, so a few months ago, we did our big India trip, and I was just wiped out from that whole trip with the babies. And I was like, I don't want to do another time change. I don't want to do another 5-hour flight with them. This is ridiculous. But honestly, they did really well, and props to me for prepping so nicely for that whole flight. Like all their meals, all the snacks, all accounted for. I was super organized. And one more specific thing to brag about is we did nap time on the plane.
That's key.
And I put Kian down first. He fell asleep on my shoulders, and Dhruv had Avi. And Dhruv was just not able to put Avi down. Avi was like fighting him so hard. So what I did is I did a nice little transfer from Kian down onto the airplane seat. I laid him down. He stayed asleep.
That was the photo you sent.
Yes. I have a picture of that. And then I grabbed Avi, and literally within, I kid you not, 30 seconds, Avi falls asleep in my arms.
They just need their mom.
They just needed me. I am the alpha. So that is my permission to glow. I'm the alpha.
Every mom is the alpha. Let's be
yes.
clear.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So
yay. And now you're here.
And now I'm here. We made it.
Boys are so much fun. They're so mobile.
Yeah. And Layla's getting there. She's scooting. I saw that picture this morning of her trying to crawling, like mess around with the outlet.
Oh yeah, she just every outlet. She's just
we love outlets. Like, yeah, toys are stupid. Outlets, yes.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, my permission to glow. So I had the chance to fly to San Francisco, me, my Akash, my husband, and Layla, and we went to go celebrate my best friend's daughter's first birthday.
Nice.
And it was really special.
So cute.
I feel like my best friend and I have been like so close and neighbors even since we were in kindergarten together. Yay. And so we've been through every like life change, transition, everything. And she had her baby 3 months before me. And so we've really been lockstep. It's been like she helped me get through so much.
Yeah.
And now to see her accomplish 1 year and survive and thrive. And we all know what it's like.
Yeah.
That first year is the hardest. I'm still in it. And it was just so much fun to celebrate her as a mom, but then also her daughter too.
Yeah.
So, it was so cute. I'll have to say one thing was so much fun. They did this game. I think it's like an Asian tradition where you put props down on the ground, and each prop represents the field that they will be in when they are older.
Oh, really?
So they had
stop. That's so cool.
So then they crawl or walk to whatever, and basically like, you see what your destiny is.
What does she crawl to?
Okay, so the options were there was a tennis ball for being an athlete.
Yeah.
There was a doctor's stethoscope for being in medicine. There was a paintbrush for the arts, and then there was a TI-83 for like STEM and math.
Yeah.
And so she was crawling, stopped midway, and kind of like looked at everyone and was wondering why everyone was like screaming and like shouting and like cheering. And she then continued on. And I really thought she was headed towards the paintbrush. And all of us, because we're all, Asian tiger moms here, We all were like, ah. But then she pivoted and went for the TI-83 calculator.
Stop.
And her dad's a scientist, so it was just like,
Was he just loving it? Yeah.
just like, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it was so cute. It was so much fun.
That's really cute. I love that tradition.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I kind of want to.
I wonder, like, I would love to see the accuracy on that, you
Yeah, let's
know,
see what
like
happens.
in 20 plus years.
Honestly, I'm so curious. But it was the cutest thing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we had some good permission to close today.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
On that note,
Let's wrap her up.
and so don't forget, please, to follow, subscribe, and like. Next time, we'll be talking more about postpartum, specifically the essentials, how to get through it, what to make sure you are doing mentally and emotionally for yourself. Today, we talked mostly about the challenges, but we do want to focus on the positives and really like getting through this time period, especially the first like 2 to 3 months. All right, everyone.
See you next week.
See ya.